You're about to hear the full story, every detail, every hidden reason, every geopolitical pressure point that led to one of the most shocking incidents in the Western Hemisphere. Because yes, a U.S. Navy submarine surfaced dangerously close to Venezuelan territorial waters. Yes, Caracas was caught completely off guard. And yes, something happened next that stunned the entire region. But trust me, this incident didn't start in those waters. It started years before, in a silent conflict that's been building, rising, tightening like a storm waiting to break loose. Let's go back, way back, to understand the bigger picture. Venezuela, sitting on the world's largest proven oil reserves, has always been more than a country. It's a power node, a resource giant, a target and a prize in the geopolitical chessboard. And for decades, the United States, Russia, and China have been circling it like sharks in deep water, each with their own reasons, their own strategies, their own ambitions. The US wants stability and control in its own backyard. Russia wants a foothold against American influence. China wants strategic resources and long-term access. In Venezuela, it wants survival, power, protection, a seat at the global table it feels it deserves. But here's where the tension skyrockets. For years, Venezuela has been growing closer, much closer, to two countries Washington watches with absolute focus: Russia and Iran. Russian bombers landing in Caracas, Iranian tankers breaking sanctions, Chinese intelligence networks strengthening in the Caribbean. All of this created a quiet storm, a buildup of distrust, suspicion, and high-stakes competition. So when that U.S. Navy submarine suddenly surfaced far too close to Venezuelan waters, it wasn't an accident, not a mistake, not a miscalculation. It was part of something much bigger. Now imagine this scene. Early morning, Caribbean waters calm, sky clear, Venezuelan radar operators monitoring routine maritime activity. And then an object appears. Silent, slow, massive. Something impossible to track until it was almost there. A U.S. Navy submarine, one of the most advanced in the world, surfacing so close that Venezuelan patrol vessels went into full alert. Sirens, radio calls. Command screamed across the deck. And within minutes, the Venezuelan Navy scrambled. Patrol boats moved out. Choppers lifted off. Because to Venezuela, this wasn't just a submarine, it was a message. But here's the part almost no one knows. The U.S. Navy doesn't accidentally surface anywhere, especially not near a country with this much political tension. Nuclear submarines are some of the most strategic assets America has. They move silently. They observe. They collect intelligence. They send messages without speaking. And when they surface, the world notices. So the question is, why here? Why now? And what exactly was Washington trying to communicate? The truth begins with a secret meeting, one that took place just days before this incident. Venezuelan intelligence reportedly received communication from Russian naval advisors. Satellite images showed unusual naval movements in the Caribbean. And U.S. analysts detected encrypted transmissions between Venezuelan military leaders and two foreign governments. Something was building. Something was happening behind the scenes that triggered the United States to take a step no one expected. A step bold enough to shake diplomatic walls from Caracas to Washington. Here's the real breaking point. According to multiple sources, U.S. intelligence suspected Venezuela was preparing to allow a foreign military vessel, believed to be Russian, to dock in a strategic port. This wasn't just any ship. It was a warship capable of long-range surveillance and advanced weapons systems. For the U.S., this crossed a red line. The Caribbean has always been America's near-zero tolerance zone. A foreign power establishing military presence this close to the United States? That sets off alarms. And Washington responded. That submarine surfacing wasn't aggression. It was a warning. A show of presence. A reminder that American eyes and ears were everywhere in that ocean. And Venezuela knew it. Their government responded immediately, accusing the U.S. of violating sovereign waters. State TV erupted. Military commanders made bold statements. The Venezuelan defense minister called it an intimidation tactic. But deep inside government rooms, they understood what this meant. The United States was signaling that it was watching every move. And more importantly, that it wouldn't allow foreign militaries to gain a foothold. But the story doesn't stop there. Because what happened next shocked not only Venezuela, but the entire region. Within hours of the submarine surfacing, a second signal came. This time from Washington. The Pentagon released a short statement, carefully worded, quiet but thunderous in meaning. They called the submarine activity routine maritime operations. But anyone who knows Pentagon language knows that was code. Code for, we did this intentionally and we're not apologizing. Now here's where things escalate. Venezuela, embarrassed on the global stage, responded by sending out fast attack boats to patrol the surrounding waters. They wanted to show strength, show resistance, show the world they would not be intimidated. But this move triggered a chain reaction. U.S. Navy surveillance aircraft began circling high above international waters. The Caribbean turned into a chessboard of high-tech intelligence and military signaling. Each side making moves, testing boundaries, watching the other's response. And then something unexpected. Something that changed the tone. Hours later, a classified comms burst between Venezuelan command centers was intercepted. It revealed panic, confusion, internal disagreement. Some leaders wanted to retaliate. Others wanted to negotiate. But the most shocking part, some feared that the submarine might have been collecting data on Venezuelan anti-ship missile systems. If true, that meant the U.S. gained a strategic advantage in minutes simply by surfacing. Now, let's go deeper into the psychology of this moment. The U.S. Navy's submarines are ghosts of the ocean, designed to be unseen, unheard, untraceable. When they choose to reveal themselves, they're making a statement. We were here long before you noticed us. That's the message, and Venezuela received it loud and clear. But why does this matter so much? Why did this event shake regional alliances and ignite global discussions? Because this wasn't just about a submarine, it was about power, influence, control. The Caribbean is becoming the next geopolitical hotspot, where the US, China, Russia, and regional powers collide. And moments like this expose how fragile peace really is. Now let's break down what really happened behind closed doors after the incident. Washington convened an emergency briefing. Analysts reviewed satellite data. Naval intelligence compiled reports. Diplomats prepared statements. They wanted to ensure the message was clear. America wasn't backing down. Meanwhile, in Caracas, Maduro held private meetings with military leaders. He demanded answers. He wanted to know how a U.S. submarine got that close without being detected. And the response he got was chilling. They were already there before we realized. This single sentence exposed Venezuela's greatest weakness: technology gaps. America's naval tech isn't just advanced, it's generations ahead. With stealth coatings, near-silent propulsion, advanced sonar deception, and unmatched intelligence systems, U.S. submarines can operate practically invisible. But here's the twist. While all this was happening, something unexpected unfolded beneath the surface of diplomacy. Back-channel communications began, quiet, coded, hidden. Both Washington and Caracas reached out through intermediaries. Because both sides understood one thing clearly. A single miscalculation could ignite a conflict no one wanted. Not Venezuela, not the United States. And definitely not the global powers observing from the shadows. But the world doesn't slow down. While governments exchanged secret messages, something else started happening, something that escalated the situation even more. Russian state media seized the moment, accusing the US of provocative maritime aggression. Chinese outlets amplified the story. Online narratives exploded. Suddenly, the submarine incident wasn't just a regional issue, it became global propaganda fuel. Each superpower shaping the story to fit its strategic goals. Now, imagine being an ordinary Venezuelan citizen waking up to the news. Headlines screaming, anchors in panic. Political leaders declaring America crossed a line. The people didn't know what to believe. Some felt fear, others felt anger. Others felt pride that their nation confronted a superpower. But outside the emotional storm, analysts noticed something deeper. This moment gave Maduro a political boost, an opportunity to rally national unity, to shift attention from economic crisis, to present himself as a defender of sovereignty. But here's the most important part. None of this was accidental. Every move, every statement, every military deployment was calculated, strategic, tactical. Because in geopolitics, perception is power. And the United States, by surfacing that submarine, seized the narrative before Venezuela even understood what was happening.